Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and thank you for joining us for one of our talks today. Today, we're incredibly lucky. We're joined by the fantastic Shannon Dang to talk all about the CW's Kung Fu. And I love how you talk about how you just immediately had such synergy with Althea as a character and understood and related to so many elements of her. But the technological side and a lot of the STEM was the space where you're a little bit more uncertain about some of those spaces. And so I wanted to ask you about what was some of the research that you did to really understand a lot of that, because they throw a lot of dialogue in the scripts for you to regurgitate, and you have to give it with context, with understanding the meaning. So is it also a continuous process to research throughout shooting the show as well?
Yes, that's so funny. I resonate so much with Althea. I love her wardrobe. I love everything, the engagement, the bridezilla, everything, the family, sibling relationship. But the technology part is new to me. So I feel like I live vicariously through her. I'm like, ooh, I get a new episode and I see all the dialogue and all the tech savviness. And I'm just like, okay, I should really research what this means because I have no idea, and I don't want to sound like a noob. Like there'll be all these like acronyms, and sometimes you don't say the letters, and you'll just say it phonetically, and I'm like, I don't want to say this wrong, and no one's gonna correct me. So I felt like I spend a lot of time on Google. It's funny because my character, my on-screen fiance, Tony Chung, who plays Dennis, he's kind of a nerd in real life. So he'll like kind of look over things. He's like, by the way, you say this like this. And I'm like, well, how do you know that? He goes, just trust me on this. And I'm like, okay. And then sometimes if it got really technical, not gonna lie, I cheat sometimes. And I have to say this stuff so fast and I don't even know what it is. I'll just put post-its on my laptop whenever I have to be, doing something tech savvy, and I'll just read it. It's so cheating, I know, but I just need it to get it out sometimes. If I can't learn it enough and quick enough.
Is there a challenge to some of those scenes sometimes? Because there's a lot of moments where essentially you're sitting on a computer and you're cracking and you're trying to figure something out, and you really need to extend the energy of what's going on and what she's figuring out. And at the same time, the actual motion of that scene can be quite small and a little bit more than what you're able to do performance wise.
Yes, I actually loved it. I feel like being able to have a task and really concentrate, because sometimes, for the most part, I know what she's saying. I've done enough research where I know what I'm talking about and can visualize it. But I think speed helps and tasks help, because then it really builds this world around. This is something that Althea deals with in everyday life. This is, she's talking about most people. I remember one scene, I forgot which episode, but there is a fighter, a teacher who is exploiting his students, and we have to crack into their system and the security cameras, and I say all of this jargon, and like my on-screen brother is like, what? And then it's like, oh, she realizes people don't know this, and then she kind of just like not dumbs it down but summarizes it for people. So that stuff is really fun to play with, of like she doesn't even know how smart she is.
And you were mentioning Tony, who plays Dennis, Althea's fiance in the show. And I really love the dynamic that the two of you have concocted for their relationship. He's completely her mental equal. It's clear that they challenge each other, that they're a great support system for each other as well. What were some of the conversations that the two of you had when you first started filming together of what you wanted that relationship dynamic to be representing with the two of them?
Yes, I think it. First of all, he's awesome. I think we just hit it off as friends and coworkers right off the bat. I think we had discussions very early on. Okay, so like, what is the kind of couple? Like, what does this look like? Our past history, and we also realized that there aren't very many Asian American young couples on television at the time. So we were like, wow, this is very exciting of a time and opportunity for us to portray, this I would say power couple. He's very smart, he's handsome, he's a great fiance, and like very respectable. And like, so what does this world look like? Growing up, I didn't have very many, actually any young adult Asian couples to look up to on screen. So we really, I think we bonded over that opportunity and responsibility to show that. And it's been really fun. We just kind of being ourselves, and as long as we're authentic and work with each other, it's a very collaborative effort. And we like to like mess around during scenes sometimes just to see what would happen. And it's just been an awesome, awesome partnership.
Is there a lot of kind of dancing and exploration of scenes overall with all of the cast to really play around and figure out a lot of the different directions that you could take moments in together?
Yes, yes, I love it. I think during our pilot was a really fun time to explore. We had more time, so the showrunner and director would pull each of our, relationships and have a rehearsal for the first few scenes just to really establish what these characters look like in a given space. So from the very beginning, I think we're all able to explore that on our own time and try things out. I'll never forget working some scenes. I love the Shen family, and specifically the Shen siblings scenes, because it's me, Olivia, and John, and we pretty much are like whatever you see on screen is pretty much like us in real life. We have this awesome, fun chemistry. It's always the funnest days when we get to film together because we're always like cracking jokes and like rap. Okay, so on the side, sometimes behind the scenes, we're like make little rap songs, and that ended up we have a BTS video that everyone like loves and shares. We just goof off, and we really do feel like siblings and a family.
And you were touching upon the directors that work on the show. And obviously, when you're starting a new show, so much of that process and that journey is everybody's coming together and figuring out who are these characters individually, what are all the relationship dynamics, what's the voice of the show. And then as you've gotten further into the first season and shooting all of these episodes at this point, how has the collaboration and the way that you work with the showrunner and the way that you work with all of the different directors that come into the show really evolved as everybody gets to know those elements so much more intricately?
Yes, I would say everyone has like slowly developed together, not only just the cast, but also the writers' rooms and the showrunners. They see, because from the beginning you have audition sides, and they have a breakdown of what they think this character and this family might look like. But once you get it and you put your own spin and flavor onto things, I've noticed that breakdowns change, storylines change. You see certain dynamics, and you're like, huh. I like these pairs together. Let's explore what this looks like. Oh, she's not as, for example, Althea, throughout the season, you will see she has a story that she's hiding. It's that she's been sexually assaulted by her boss. And in the pilot, there was nothing about that. She was the lighthearted character, the family comic relief. And then it wasn't until during the pilot I sat down with the showrunner and she told me what is to come for her character. And I was like, wait, I was very nervous. I was like, are you sure that you could trust me with something like this? It's such an important and sensitive subject matter. So I think it shows just ways that they slowly add things on, and it's a collaborative space for sure. I think as the series goes on, a lot of the language started to feel more like us personally, and that's just everyone learning and growing together of what works well with everyone and the flow.
Yeah. And you're bringing up that storyline that has been so much the core of your character's journey and the reason behind a lot of behaviors, but also has been such an impetus to how we get to see so many different sides of Althea, even early on, before the script revealed that. If you look back at those episodes, you can see moments where you start kind of calling to it and displaying certain reactions to things in your performance. So how did you constantly think about, when you were playing scenes that weren't related to that, how you wanted to start bringing that into her as a character once you had those conversations and you knew that this was her journey?
I think what helped is that maybe that I didn't know that where this story, her storyline was going, because in the pilot, I just front loaded it with Althea, she's bubbly from the outside. Nothing phases her. She's just living in her fantasy bride world. And, you see little glimpses of when Nikki comes back, and she has these moments of maybe she was really sad that Nikki left, but she puts up that front for her family. And so because I front loaded it over at the beginning, I feel like knowing where I was going, and by the end of the season where she's at, I feel like it really helped let me, I would say, spread out her journey and really map at where, like, okay, I want her to find some strength here, but not too much, because I want her to go there. I think the awesome parallel between Althea was her sister Nikki. So throughout the series, Nikki is a constant wave of bravery and always standing up for others who don't have a voice and finding justice and using her powers for good. And Althea just watches and doesn't know where she stands in those moments, and she wants to be brave like her sister. So I felt like that was an awesome contrast and journey that she could follow, and where she gets close and then where she steps back.
And even within individual scenes, you balance so many different tones and trajectories for her as a character. Because like you said, she comes in and she tries to be the comic relief in a situation, but then there's moments where an emotionally vulnerable moment hits her within a singular scene. Do you find that that's just a very fluid flow for her as a character, or are there moments where you're consciously thinking about some of the different beats that you really want to pull into a scene?
I feel like it's both. Shannon, am kind of a sensitive person. I just have a lot of feelings, so I get it. It's very easy for me to be up and down. Well, now I sound like I'm super dramatic, but I think because I guess I just put more of myself in her. She feels a lot. So when she's happy, she's happy. She loves fiercely. But, when something triggers, I guess I'm not afraid to show that. And I want her to be vulnerable and open. And I think I've been blessed with such a great opportunity and character like Althea for all those nuances. And again, I think because I showed them in the beginning, that the writers were able to make more nuances for her and just kind of put her all over the map. And it's like actor's gym, I would say. Like, okay, if I want to show this, then I better front load it up there so that there's a surprise, because I want those levels. So that's something that I've really been grateful and that I've learned playing this character.
And you were touching before upon the idea of who she is for her family as well. And there's such a strong sense of that at the beginning, and who she's had to be, and a lot of the responsibility that she shouldered with her sister having been gone for so many years. And very much that she's felt that need to be the perfect child, to do everything right so that she doesn't give her parents anything else to stress about beyond their daughter running away and abandoning them. And so how did you think about that side of the character and the way that that would impact and affect her in different ways?
I think that's very natural for me, at least, in my own life. I feel like, not that my family is like super like dramatic and all that stuff, but I play a similar role in a sense that I am the big sister and I have a younger brother. And whenever, something goes wrong, or, I want to be strong for growing up, I wanted to be strong for my brother. And I'm always the comic relief because I want my family to be happy. So for me, honestly, there wasn't really anything I had to try too hard. It's so funny because my family and close friends, they all watch the show and they're like, you're not pretending. Like, Althea is literally you. You just like, I think I just put a lot of Shannon into there, and it just, it's fun. I relate to her a lot.
Yeah, and when you were talking about the sibling dynamic overall earlier, it is something where you really get the sense in watching the show that there is such a genuine natural chemistry between the three of you. But that didn't take away the fact that when you shot those first scenes together, that there wasn't that history yet. There wasn't that sense of, okay, I know how Olivia is going to come into this scene, and I think I have a sense of what she's going to do with it. So what was the difference when you look back at shooting those first few scenes together and really figuring out what that instantaneous chemistry, rapport, and history between them was going to be?
Yes, I love that question. Okay, so actually, Olivia and I knew each other before. We had booked Kung Fu, which was really cool. We were more like acquaintances and friends. When we started filming the pilot, we had all tested together. It was me, Olivia, John, and Eddie. We all were at producer sessions together to studio and then network testing. So we had kind of been rooting for each other and along each other's journey since the beginning. So I think that really helped as far as chemistry. When we all booked it and we went to Vancouver to film the pilot, we got shut down after 4 days due to COVID. So we never even got to finish and do the chunk of our scenes, and we didn't get to explore too much together. But then we didn't come back to film until September of 2020. So all those months of, cast in the WhatsApp group, like just bonding and really supporting each other through a pandemic and praying that we get picked up and get to be reunited to finish. I really think that was the foundation for our whole cast, as far as the chemistry and our love and support for each other. So once we got back in September to start filming, it was like easy. Like, I know that we all know each other, we trust each other, and whether that's because we share also, maybe a similar Asian American experience, we already have that layered bond and support system. But yeah, it was pretty easy and seamless, and we all hang out together. And in Vancouver, some of us lived in the same building as each other, so we called it the Kung Fu dorms. Yeah, so everything helps. It's been awesome.
I also really love that the show doesn't make the parents supporting characters who are just there to come in and support a certain plot line at any point. They're so fully enriched as well, and you have Kang and Tai playing your parents, also when I watch Althea, you've developed really individual relationship dynamics with each of them, and so I wanted to ask a little bit about the way in which you thought about the different sides of her that each of her parents pull out within her.
Yes. So actually, I love some people love Tai and Kang and their relationship on screen. It's so cute. They're the most adorable parents, and I love that they get their own storylines and relationships and everything. They were actually cast before everyone. So right when we were auditioning, we found out that Tai and Kang were going to be the parents of the cast, and then all of a sudden we were like, oh, now we really have to book this. Did you see our parents? This show's gonna be legit. We have to. So from the very beginning, it's been an honor to work with them and learn from them. I think that Althea season 1, she hasn't had too many opportunities to get that one-on-one relationship with either parent. There are some moments, but I think definitely I'd be interested to explore a little deeper into season 2. But it's fun. I think they all, they're concentrating on Nikki, who just came home, and there's a little, tiger mom relationship there. And I think Kang, Mei Li's character, really enjoys Althea as far as, Althea is the obedient one as opposed to Nikki. So that relationship is interesting, and I'm excited for season 2 to explore. I don't know what's going to happen.
And you were mentioning right at the beginning the outfits that Althea wears as well, and they're used for so many different expressions within her. Like, she's clearly someone who takes a lot of love and a lot of care and a lot of passion in what she wears, but there's also moments like at her bachelorette party where the outfit that she's wearing is who she's trying to present herself as for others, and there's a couple moments where we see that within the show. So how do costumes and a lot of the outfits that she wears in the show really help you to find character moments within scenes sometimes?
Ooh, I love it. First of all, I live vicariously through her wardrobe. Every time I have a fitting for Althea, I'm just like, I walk away and I'm just like, dang, real life Shannon needs to step up her wardrobe, because that was insane, and all my clothes, I just need to steal them. But I love the collaboration I get to have with the costume designer. I feel like we're both in sync in a sense of what is Althea going through in that moment. And I think clothes are definitely an accessory to how she's feeling. For example, I remember specifically episode 3. There's a King Kwong party, and she gets confronted by a reporter who wants to expose and talk about the story about her boss and how she was sexually assaulted. And I remember that was the first time on screen that you were going to see Althea talk about it and unleash to the audience what she's been dealing with. And I remember being like, I don't want to be wearing something maybe flashy or I mean, it was flashy. It was a very cute outfit, but I wanted something that was, I picked these pink earrings because it just spoke innocence to me. I chose a high out of the dresses. I was like, I want that one. It was pink and it was blue and it was just very innocent of an essence, because I wanted that contrasting of, you know, the darkness going inside of her and the pain to be, you know, contrasting with the bright and bubbly outfit that she was wearing. So stuff like that has really been helpful in expressing her and her journey.
Yeah. And within that storyline, but even looking beyond that, there's so many more moments, more of her vulnerabilities, more of insecurities, and a lot more of as the series progresses. So how has that allowed you to just open up your performance and go into a lot of different places as you get further into the show, with the fact that you can show more of the internal journey of her as a character?
I think I'm really glad about how it was timed out progressively. I think by episode 4, she has this moment where she finally, it's at a dinner scene and it's about a duck, but it's really not about a duck and a prenup. It's about her self-worth and what she's going through and struggle. And I have to really thank, you know, everyone at that table who was there that day, all of our actors, and especially our director of that episode, America Young, who really made it safe for me to explore. And I think she was one of our we've only had maybe, it's rare when you get to work with female directors. And I feel very grateful that she was of that episode. At the end of it, episode 4, Althea tells Nicky that she was sexually assaulted by her boss, and that's the first time she's saying it out loud to anyone. And Olivia was a great scene partner, made everything very safe, very generous, and I really could not have done scenes like that without them.
Yeah. On a separate note, you also have a background in professional dance, and I was interested in the way that that carries through into acting, and if that influences the way that you think about a lot of the choreography and a lot of the blocking of scenes, and also just the way that a scene has to have a certain rhythm and flow to it at the same time at all.
Oh, I love that question. Thank you. Yes, I think dancing and movement help. I don't think you need to be a professional dancer, but I feel like when you watch choreography, there's a rhythm, there's a flow, and what makes things nuanced is maybe a surprise. And I feel like that surprise of movement can also be translated into acting, because no one wants to see a flat scene. No one wants to see a flat, like where you start in a scene is not where you end, you know, acting 101. But really, I think so being able to play with those movements, if I want to end up here, then how can I make this interesting and go from point A to point B, and like how can I get there? I think that's really been fun. I think I'm a very physical person. So on set, you know, some people can just come in onto the set and just, you know, go with the flow. I like to sit in my space. I like to put on the shoes that I know I'm going to wear for blocking. I like to hold my props all the time. I'm a very explorative person because I don't want to figure it out on the day and see what I do with this random thing. I like to live in this world. It's funny. So usually in between takes, the props person has to, take your props and hold it for you. And then when you come back, everyone knows that Shannon likes to take her props with her to holding. Like I will just take it to the green room and I'm just holding it all day because I'm just a physical person and I like to know and I like to explore. So I feel like dance has really helped me and with my acting, yes.
And in working on Kung Fu, what are the ways in which this show and this character have challenged you the most and really pushed a lot of your boundaries and pushed you as an actor?
I think specifically the most challenging part was that storyline for Althea. I think that's a very sensitive subject matter and very important one to touch base on and discuss. I think I had a lot of, maybe I felt pressure because I wanted to get it right, or that expectation that maybe I had to speak on behalf of and represent all victims of, maybe sexual assault, and like that's a lot of pressure. So I think as long as I learned how to, be authentic and vulnerable and truthful to myself and maybe what I would be feeling given the circumstances, I think that's been really helpful. Just learning how to trust my instincts and learning how to show that vulnerability and be available. And I think a lot of people have resonated with that story. And so I feel very proud to be able to give that to others.
Yeah, no, I think the show has handled that storyline and your performance as well really beautifully and with a lot of sensitivity and overall your performance has been such a joy to watch on the show. And thank you so much for sharing all of this, Shannon.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Mara, for having me.